New poll shows majority of Floridians oppose DeSantis' Stop Woke and Don't Say Gay. A majority of Florida voters disapprove of two key pieces of legislation on social issues backed by Governor Ron DeSantis, according to a new survey. Released Monday, the Fresh Spectrum News Siena College Poll shows 50% of respondents oppose the Parental Rights in Education measure, which critics have pejoratively called Don't Say Gay law. Just 44% of respondents approve of the legislation. The Stop Woke Act, which is still being litigated in the courts, prohibits the teaching of so-called critical race theory in K-12 classrooms and workplaces. Similarly, it is a political loser, with 51% disapproval against just 34% approval. Central to the unpopularity of both measures is a significant minority of Republicans. A total of 28% of them disapprove of the so-called Don't Say Gay law, showing that the negative branding of the legislation left an impression on these respondents. Meanwhile, 38% of Republicans disapprove of Stop Woke, against just 48% approval. The criticism against both of these pieces of legislation extends to all age groups except in one case. A majority of respondents between the ages of 50 and 64 back the Parental Rights in Education legislation, with 52% approval against, just 37% disapproval. But otherwise, the measure is underwater among people of all ages. I think it's interesting by asking these questions because a lot of times we get hung up ourselves as a community on Don't Say Gay and woke. And when you actually read legislation like this to a regular voter, I think that they become more unpopular. I think yelling Don't Say Gay at maybe a voter who thinks parental rights is a great initiative probably doesn't work for our cause, even though I believe that there was a good branding there. We have to start talking about what does the bill actually do and what does it do to our community? Because when you tell a reasonable middle of the road person this, they become, oh, I wouldn't support that. My nephew's gay, or my sister is a teacher and she's a lesbian and we want her to talk about her family. We have to relate these things and stop using catchphrases to market everything, because sometimes it gets lost in translation.
And I'm also honestly not surprised that it's 28% of Republicans, because the whole party isn't a hive mind. There is a significant portion of people who, when they read it.
That's breaking news. The GOP are not the Borg? Is that
there are LGBT people all over the place. And I do think that, certain issues that Republicans, real Republicans, don't get is this whole anti-gay stuff. They are for the anti-immigration and that stuff, but they don't want history cleaned. We all grew up learning American history. Why should young people now not learn it? It's crazy.
I think this is something that I forgot about, so go ahead.
What I was going to say is this poll is really breaking news. First off, it's very timely. It's just come out. It's the biggest poll that has been done on the legislation for the woke, quote-unquote woke legislation in Florida, and Don't Say Gay. Parental rights in Florida. So this is it is. It's breaking news. It's the largest poll of its kind that's been done in Florida. Here's a couple of the big picture points of what the poll says. First off, only 44% of Floridians support it.
Right.
In anything else, if that was gay marriage in Congress, gay marriage loses.
Right.
That's what this means. 44% can't pass anything. So it indicates that's what's going on. It is a strong vocal minority that is really leading the issues in Florida. And that's led by voices like Marco Rubio, Governor DeSantis, that Attorney General, et cetera, and so on. They've hijacked Florida in terms of their minority point of view. We have to remember that it is a minority we're fighting, not the majority of Floridians. The other thing that is really important in this poll is nearly 3 out of every 10 GOP also do not support this. That is important. While it is not a majority, a very significant minority of GOP say, why are we doing this? I don't support your comments about teaching issues about people of color in schools, much less the issues that relate to LGBT. We don't support it. They're not listening to them. They don't care about them. Again, it leads to the conclusion, a strong vocal minority of a DeSantis wanting to have a national campaign to the campaign road of being president of the United States. And that's why he's doing this.
Right.
The final point that I think is the most important thing is what so many people criticize Queer News Tonight for. Why do you talk about this and talk about this and talk about this? Because the poll shows there's a very significant number of people in Florida that have not made up their minds.
Right.
They don't know what to think about it. And so until they do, and they move into column A or column B, we're still pitching for them.
Right.
We want them to support the LGBTQ community. We want them to support the Black community. We want them to support teachers, and we want them to support our schools and our students. And that's why we keep talking about it, because this battle is not over. It is a minority generated issue. And if we're going to defeat DeSantis, we have to keep putting the pressure on, which is why you do a national task force dinner,
Right.
which is why you have a voting center on Wilton Drive, which is why we do stories like this in Queer News Tonight.
Right.
The battle goes on. The war is not over yet.
I think it goes back to what Jeffrey was saying. It's the slogans and the catchphrases, so people don't really know what these things are about. They don't know what's in the bill. So when we take it to people and we strip the labels and titles away to Don't Say Gay, and we show them what this governor is actually doing to people, I think people look at that differently than this is the Don't Say Gay bill or the Stop Woke Act, which ironically Republicans use, stuff like that, titles like that to rally their base up.
Yeah.
But
Right.
it isn't stopping anything.
Right.
And let me move on, because here's one of the really good solutions to this problem. LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ plus community.